Tēnā rā koutou katoa. Kia ora mai tātou. Ka tīmata mai ki tēnei hui. Kia ora, we're going to start our formal proceedings now. Te whare e tūnei, tēnā koe. Te marae, te papaki wahora, tēnā korua, tēnā korua, tēnā korua. Te mana wenua o tēnei rohe, ko taku tupuna, ko te atiawa, taranaki whānui, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. E ngā mana, e ngā reo, ngā tini karanga maha, o te motu, tēnā koutou katoa. E ngā rangatira i te whare nei, ngā kaihautu, kua whakakotahi mai ki raro i te kaupapa, o te tika, o te mana wahine, tēnei te mihi maihoha ki a koutou. He rā nui tēnei, he rā whakahirahira hoki, e whakanui ana i ngā tau, toru, tekau o te mahi. Whakaharahara o Shakti, i tō koutou u te ki te oranga, te mana motu hake, me te rangatiratanga o ngā wahine, me ngā whānau e Aotearoa i te ao anō hoki. Nō reira, kia tau te mauri, ki tēnei huhuinga rangatira, kia u tonu tātou ki te aratika, ki te kaupapa kotahi, e hono nei e a tātou katoa. To the many esteemed leaders, voices and communities gathered here, greetings to you all. My name is Amakura Pānoho. I'll get introduced to you formally later. To the leaders of this house and to all who have come together under the kaupapa of justice and the empowerment of women, I offer you my heartfelt acknowledgements. This is a significant day, a day to celebrate 30 years of Shakti's extraordinary work, your steadfast commitment to the well-being, self-determination and dignity of women from your communities and their families here in Aotearoa and across the world. I'm very honoured to be here as a close ally to this kaupapa since its beginnings, and privileged to have met all the incredible women I've had the honour of working with on this journey. May the Māori force, the life force of this gathering, settle among us, and may we remain steadfast on the path of justice and shared purpose that unites us here today. Nō reira, he karakia tīmatanga. E te atua, e ngā atua o ngā tupuna, whakarongo mai ki te tangi o te nākau, whakatongia mai te kaha me te kaha me ki roto e a mātou, kia u ki te kaupapa o te tika me te mana wahine, kia tau te rangi Māori i tēnei huhuinga, kia whiti mai te maramatanga hei arataki e a tātou katoa, haumi e hui e taiki e. E ngā iwi o te motu nei, he raukura rā tēnei, e te tia nei he te ati aua, i te iti te rahi ke tatoa, kua tu ha te whiti, nō rungai ana mai pai, nō rungai ana mahi tika, i tōna nā kaupai. Kia ora.
Inga mana, inga reo, inga iwi, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. Ngā mihi kia koe ki te amakura mō te mihi whakatau, tēnā koe. Nau mai, haere mai, ki tēnei hui. Ko Melissa Chan Green, aho. Kia ora and welcome to this very special event, looking back on 30 years of Shakti. We honour founding members, supporters and the women at the heart of what has been a transformative service for Aotearoa, New Zealand. Thank you for all of those of you who are in the room here with us, leaders, supporters, ambassadors, members of Parliament, and thank you to those of you who are watching online. It's wonderful to have so many people supporting this. Thank you, Amakura, for welcoming us here with that mihi whakatau and for your work as the inaugural chair of Shakti. Speaking with you earlier, it's clear it is no coincidence that someone who has been such a passionate advocate for tangata whenua has had such empathy for a service led by ethnic women for ethnic women. I am delighted to be your MC this afternoon. My name is Melissa Chan Green, and my migrant story is of the early Chinese migrants to New Zealand who came here and paid the poll tax and worked as miners and market gardeners. And I'm finding out more about those stories at the moment and writing that with my auntie. I've also had the enormous privilege of being able to tell some of the stories of Shakti over the years in my role as a journalist, and so it's an honour to be here as part of this today. Just some quick housekeeping. If the fire alarms sound, please evacuate the venue via the same route you entered or the nearest safe exit. Please follow directions of security staff and fire wardens, and the evacuation assembly point is Bulger Park at the rear of Parliament. In the event of a medical emergency, please inform security or venue staff immediately, and security will be able to manage any medical emergency within the parliamentary complex. In the event of an earthquake, drop cover and hold until it stops. Keep away from windows and other obvious hazards, and remain inside the venue. Await instructions from security staff. Please do keep your visitors stickers on. Make sure it is clearly visible while you are here. The toilet facilities are located downstairs on the ground floor near the main entrance, and all Parliament buildings are smoke-free. You're welcome to smoke outside the main gates on Molesworth Street. Can I ask you please to switch your mobile phones to silent if you haven't already? And photos are permitted within this room only, but not outside of this room. Okay, in terms of our schedule today, it's understandably packed with so many people we want to hear from. So do feel free, if you need to get up and stretch, please do that. Our speakers will understand that that is necessary. I also have a gentle plea to keep your presentations brief and within the time that has been allocated, because as much as we might daydream about things we would do if we were to stay here in the halls of power, we will get kicked out eventually. So I will have to run a tight ship. So if I am standing, please, I do that with the utmost respect, that I'm just trying to keep things moving. Okay, let's talk about Shakti. Shakti means strength, and we are here to acknowledge the strength of those who call for help, the strength of those who provide help, and the strength and bravery of those who take trauma and fear and turn it into becoming empowered and independent, and the strength of those who have worked, fought, and created the Shakti that we see today. I would like to extend a warm thanks to the MPs hosting us here today, the Honourable Phil Twyford and the Honourable Helen White. Both of them have been passionate supporters of Shakti in various ways over the years. And in the case of the local MP in West Auckland, Phil Twyford's support dates back to the very early days. So please welcome our first speaker this morning, Phil Twyford.
Kia ora tātou, and welcome to Parliament. Thank you, Melissa, Mokura. Greetings, everybody. This is your house, of course, but for those of us who work here on a daily basis, it's always really nice to welcome folks into this unique place where we work. Especially this Legislative Council chamber, which from my point of view is one of the most wonderful spaces in the entire precinct, and I hope you enjoy your time here today. It was the debating chamber of the upper house until 1951, and who knows, maybe one day we'll get a second house, an upper house back, and it will be used as a debating chamber again. It's my pleasure to be with you this afternoon and share this very special moment, the 30th anniversary celebrations of the work of one of my favourite organisations, Shakti. We MPs can be very parochial, but it's not just idle boosterism for my electorate because Shakti happens to be headquartered in West Auckland. Not at all. Shakti is an organisation led by ethnic women for ethnic women, dedicated to promoting and protecting the human rights of women and children. 30 years of that is really something to celebrate. Now, I'm a politician because I believe in social justice and social change. But I want to tell you this. Social change never starts with politicians and governments. It starts in the community. And it starts with people who recognise injustice when they see it, who aren't prepared to put up with the status quo, who choose to make a better alternative, to organise and to campaign and to demand change. People like Shakti. Now, over the last 30 years, Shakti has put itself in the middle of two of the biggest and most powerful social and demographic changes that have reshaped And over the years, I've watched Shakti, and I've observed that this organisation knows that, and they're willing to fight for it bravely. And from time to time, they've made themselves unpopular with vested interests. And that, in my view, is a badge of honour. I've known Farida and Sheila for more than 20 years, and I have so much respect and affection for the work that they and all of the Shakti team have done. And I know that Shakti is now a big team. It's all around the country, and many hundreds of staff and volunteers have contributed to this 30-year success story. And for that, I congratulate the whole Shakti team for the amazing achievements of the last 3 decades and the promise of more to come. Enjoy your afternoon.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker, Dr. Shakti Selvakumar, a GP from Sri Lanka and now Shakti's chairperson. Over the 20 years she has been with Shakti, she has shepherded it through a transition from a volunteer organisation desperate for funding to a structure that can support its staff on a professional footing, although I'd still make it clear that there's always room for funding and more funding. It's desperately needed. I'm sure none of you know, all of you realise that anyway. But please welcome Dr. Shakti Selvakumar.
Kia ora. Good afternoon, honourable ministers, members of the parliament, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I am deeply honoured and proud to stand here today representing Shakti. The voice and the strength of vulnerable ethnic women. I am privileged to welcome all of you for our 30th year's celebrations of all our hardship and our achievements. And I'm so overwhelmed by the turnout today and over the past few months, how the preparations have been going on to commemorate this day. A special welcome to Shakti CEO from all the way from United Kingdom, who is our first stepstone, if I may say. I echo the sentiment Honourable MP Phil Tyford mentioned. Yes, New Zealand, where this shouldn't happen. Where New Zealand and like Amakura mentioned as well, where humanity, dignity, equality, justice is always the prime focus in New Zealand. And we shouldn't have our ethnic sisters, children, our women, have to face any of these family violence or any form of violence in this country. My association with Shakti goes back over 25 years. Founder Farida Sultana, along with other few like-minded women who are here today, a few of them, who sowed a seed of compassion for other vulnerable women. Now, 30 years later, the seed has grown into a powerful movement with many branches. Shakti has transformed thousands of lives, helping women to rebuild their confidence, independence, and dignity. Crisis line, Shakti Safe Houses, Shakti Counseling Services, Shakti Education and Training Center, the sustainer work, are the lifelines of women and children in need we currently run. My personal journey before that, I would really like to talk about the founder and the like-minded women who actually, like any other women, didn't take it and face it, and then, okay, that's too hard basket and leave it and move on with their lives. They turned that experience into a positive influence for helping other women in this world, which is very commendable. Well, coming to my personal journey, Shakti began in 1990s when I migrated from Sri Lanka in 1989. I delivered some health education along with my husband, and then free health care to women in need as a general practitioner. Over the past 2 decades, I have served in various leadership roles, and currently I serve as the chair. My previous visit to Parliament, when we were lobbying for a safe house in Wellington, a vision of Shakti and the founders that was thankfully realized a few years later. Like many charitable organizations, Shakti has faced its challenges, particularly financial ones, still facing, but nothing has ever shaken its steadfast commitment in wiping the tears of our sisters and the children. Our volunteers and staff have always gone above and beyond, never taking anything for granted, always guided by the purpose and compassion. We truly are grateful to New Zealand government and MSD for their ongoing support and partnership, which has allowed Shakti to continue its essential services. Well, where to from here? Shakti is not going to settle for what we have achieved. We want to look forward. Of course, prevention. Shakti is currently developing a CRM program and to monitor and reintegration process for women returning to their communities. They have developed best practice guidelines along with MSD, which is widely used by all the organizations to help women and the practitioners who are dealing with family violence. Sadly, we have lost a few women who reconciled, went back to their perpetrators, and we should make sure that it never happens again. Another project is in our hands, is abandoned women. We need a policy which we are going to talk about, where women are brought in from overseas, India, Asia, where different countries married, and then the spouses get the benefit, dowry, or whatever you call it, and they are abandoned in New Zealand. They are on the streets, and nowhere to go, no visa status, no one to support them. But Shakti has taken them on board. We need to do something about it. We are creating awareness, getting the stories across the border. Before they migrate, we need to eliminate this sort of thing becoming a huge issue for New Zealand, and also the women who are actually helpless with no support at all. Family violence is pandemic. It's a disease, one that affects all the communities. But the way it is and help people can differ depending on the culture and belief systems. Shakti remains committed in eradicating this social disease through education, awareness, and empowerment, by helping every woman to understand her rights and to know how to reach out for help. As women, we have a responsibility to educate our communities, to look out for one another, and to use every opportunity to help someone in need. Here, I like to echo the statement, the change happens in the family. The woman, the mother, we have to teach them, teach our children, teach our communities, whoever we come across, to treat each other with love, respect, and kindness. Then there will be a change in the community and and eventually change in the world. I would like to thank all the women who put their trust in Shakti and have gone through rehabilitation and have made their life purposeful. I'd like to thank the founder team and the members who have worked very hard over the years and have roped us all, a lot of women in here today. I'm sure a lot of you all will be keen to get involved in Shakti in future, I hope. I like to also thank the fellow governors, the trustees, the custodians, the guardians, and a special advisors we have got. Amakura, I call her our guardian angel, Heather Henare, and few others, if I have missed your names, and Manisha Saini, and Sasha Ali. Finally, my heartfelt thank you to Shakti team, my staff, our volunteers, past, present, who have stood by Shakti at the difficult times, and some have changed their pathways, but they have always contributed, and I thank you today, and we will remember always all the help you have extended to the vulnerable women of ethnic minority. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, the founder, Farida Sultana, doesn't want me to make a fuss, but I don't think I need to tell anybody that she has actually changed history in New Zealand, and even the history books actually have Farida in them now. She's also changed her own family's life, and I'd like to recognise her family in the room here, her daughter Pushpa, who joins us and has been on this journey with her, and also beautiful Ava, who is joining Farida on stage now. Please welcome them both.
This is going to be show and tell. That's what Nani doing today. Okay. Welcome everyone. I hope everyone comfortable. We tried our best to organize the seat. I know it's a little bit tight. I'm sorry some of you are sitting in the chair. But it will be okay. If you feel hot, door will open. I have to say something. Then I thought, what do I say? Usually my note doesn't work because I want to say something, then I end up saying something else. I better stick to my time because otherwise Melissa is going to stand up. Bottom of my heart, I want to thank women from up north to down south who called Shakti Crisis Line over 30 years and got out of domestic violence. My biggest thank you goes to them. Without you, there is no organization. We exist simply for you, and we will exist for you as long as you need it. I hope so, Hoa. That's what our commitment is. We always committed that if you are in crisis, Shakti will try to get there. 40% of Shakti's workforce right now are our ex-clients, just like me. And that's something I'm absolutely proud of. And I feel organization is in good hand because they truly feel for it. But getting out of domestic violence is difficult, especially women, while we are talking today, who are stuck into domestic violence relationship. One of the things women ask themselves, where do I go? Can I survive with my children? That's the biggest question, because what you know, and what you don't know is a hard decision to make. And 35 years back, that was my question too. If I leave, can I survive? And finally, I made a decision that I should leave. But when I left, I couldn't take my daughter with me. And I can understand all these mothers who go through leaving their children behind, how hard it is. Thank you to Shakti. Open the door, give me a key of my life. And 30 years we are celebrating. This 30 years success also Shakti UK success. Because if you didn't help me out, I wouldn't be here. With my 3 generations, you can see standing, show and tell. Beginning of Shakti wasn't easy. We all are in foreign country. English was second language. Only one person drove, who drove through red light. That's Fariba, sitting in that chair. None of us, we drove, and we told her many times, don't drive through red light. We're going to get a ticket. We don't have money. She said, we have to get somewhere in on time, just going through red light. And 3 people was key in the beginning. It was Hira, in sit there, Fariba, and Lucia, who retired and gone back to Hong Kong. We work 24/7, literally 24/7, 7 days a week. And we had to put the petrol money from our own pocket. Sometimes Fariba's car used to smoke and we put water top of that. But we were determined. Doesn't matter how difficult it gets. We will climb the mountain. We'll build the organization that needed for the women. And slightly later stage, when Hira and Fariba both couldn't find employment in New Zealand, their husband, they all moved to Australia. Sheila entered the scene. And last 25 plus years, Sheila's contribution is huge. Sheila and I have a very difficult working relationship because I have the vision and I go and put the cart before the horse. That's Sheila's word all the time. You're putting cart before the horse. Because I know Sheila is there. Sheila has incredible power of negotiation. She is truly committed to social justice. She stands tall, even though people try to break her to pieces. And her commitment makes me secure. If I take a step, it will be all right. But I apologize to put you through these last 25 years. Personally, I wouldn't be here without my mom's support. She's no longer with us. My mom gave me $100, and she said, "That's a lot of money I'm giving you. You better not to fail." That was the first donation to Shakti's bucket. And she helped. Even when she was 94 lying in bed, she's still helping me. And I couldn't have done it without my daughter. I let her grow up by herself because I didn't have time. And I always had to trust her that she should do the right thing. And she did. All my difficult times, she becomes my mother. I become her daughter. She comforts me. She puts me back into my purpose. Mom, there is a reason everything that happened, and you need to stick to it. I like to thank you for being there for me until today. Now, my heartfelt thank you goes to many of you in the room who are Shakti supporter, friends, lifelong committed Shakti. I don't know how to describe your relationship with Shakti. Like Heather, Debbie, many of you are in this room, and many not here today, in Auckland, Christchurch, Dunedin, Wellington, all over the country. This organization wouldn't survive without you. It would be impossible to survive. Thank you so much from bottom of my heart. Also, biggest thank you goes to our funders, donors who believed in Shakti all these years. When it was tiny organization, practically was nothing. Those funders is still today stuck with Shakti, private trust especially, government department. Last not least, all the parliamentarians, cross-party, all the MPs, ministers, all the legislation, we knocked your door, you need to do it, you need to do it, and many of you came together. Now we have forced underage marriage, dowry abuse, all of this part of the legislation. Work is not done because Giri is going to tell you more what you need to do. And we are looking forward to work with you. Thank you so much. My last not least thank you goes to all our staff who organized, worked hard, been here today. Thank you so much.
How long is it possible for a lump to stay in your throat? I'm not sure. I'll soon find out. Farida, I hope you are able to take a chance to look around the room and reflect on all the admiration and support that you have of all of these people from what you have created. Our next speaker is Girijamba Polubotu, the CEO of Shakti Women's Aid UK. She has been with Shakti Women's Aid for 27 years and CEO for the last 21. She has contributed to the Scottish Government's national strategy to address domestic abuse, played a significant role in drafting legislation around forced marriage. She sits across several boards and organisations that are committed to women's rights and has very strong links, of course, here with Shakti as very much an inspirational force, which we will also see in the video, which is to come a little later. Thank you, mate, for making the long journey here. Please welcome Girijamba Polubotu.
I'm very nervous. I'm like you, don't stick to the script. I have to speak spontaneously, and that comes from my heart. When I write a script, it makes me nervous. And this script has changed in the last 24 hours, I think 3 times, Farida. Every time they come, no, not this, you have to speak about this. So anyway, and you all can understand, it's very difficult for me to come here and speak after Farida. And Farida, we are so proud of you. Although you don't know, since you visited Shakti a long time ago, I always speak about you, although I didn't know much about Shakti until now, the development. We always take you as an example, and we have few other clients who have done so well in their life and have really doing very well. But not every service user wants their name to be announced, that you know. And that actually, in a way, see, I'm already out of script, by the way. I'm going to, good afternoon, all later. That's how I was supposed to start, but after Farida's speech, I thought, okay, let me be spontaneous rather than stick to the script. So not many women actually come and allow, and that actually in a way disadvantages organizations such as us when we want to speak on behalf of the service users and we want to advocate on their behalf and we want to talk about the need, we can't. Because sometimes the stories tell a lot rather than your funding application and statistics. Actually, statistics to me mean nothing. Every time I ask a funder, don't ask us to fill a funding application, especially when you're competing with the mainstream. We don't have the skills, we don't have the skills how to complete the form. And another thing is, you're looking at, if you're applying, I was talking to Manjira, if 2 organizations, mainstream is applying for 60,000, we are applying for 60,000 pounds. The mainstream can say they'll support 80 women, whereas we can't say we can support 80 women because the work that takes to support a BME woman is a lot more, and the amount of time it takes is a lot more. So in that way, we actually fall short in those funding applications, and we fail. I wouldn't say we fail, actually the funders failed to identify the need. That's how I see it. So I'm going back to my script, by the way. I had to say. And one more point somebody talked about abandoned women. In UK, it's the opposite. So we have abandoned women in their countries. So the perpetrators buy false hopes. They take the women. Like you said, many women come to us, and quite a few of them go back. It's not just like, how am I going to survive? The first barrier for many women is the immigration issue. So that is the main barrier. You leave, but first of all, you need money to survive, you need accommodation to live, and you need a support service to support you. But the way the funding criteria is, now it's better. There was a time that we are not allowed to support any woman who has no recourse to public funds. There is no refuge space and there's no money. But like you said, Shakti won't give up just like that. We won't give up. We will fight. It is a hard fight, and sometimes it's a lonely fight. It's a lonely fight. And for you to make somebody else understand the complexity within our culture, with everything, you better stop it and do some labor work and collect that money and spend. It's that hard. So anyway, So abandoned women for us is when women come, when they go back, we do tell the women, whatever you do, please don't go on a holiday for the next 2-3 years. Don't go. Whatever your husband says, don't go on a holiday. But it's easy for us to say. When you're in the women's situation, it's very difficult. You don't know how, the men or the family convince her. She does go on the holiday. And we had cases when women are abandoned in their home country, all the papers taken away. In one case, even the child was taken away, and the man arrived here. That woman never came back. Now she's old, and we were contacted by her daughters that she's suffering in her home country, health-wise and everything. Can we bring her here? So for some, there's no return. But in many cases, we did help abandoned women. And it's very difficult. Again, you need a solicitor. I'm out of my script, by the way, but I think you need to know. We need to bring abandoned women from other countries. You need a solicitor who agrees to do free service, because it's a lot of work. And you need a solicitor in that country, the other country as well. They all have to work together. Then you need the police to help you. You need the social work if there are children to work, and that is really difficult. Unless there's a coordination, cooperation amongst all these services, it's very difficult to bring an abandoned women from abroad. So that is the case that we have mainly. If they're abandoned within the UK, it's easy. There's no abandonment. We can get the woman, we can support her, and we can then go through the immigration rules and apply the DDVC, whatever is possible. We'll apply and we'll make sure that she's okay. But if she's abandoned outside, it's very difficult. We had women abandoned in war zones, war country. There was a time like Iraq and all. It makes it so difficult to bring the women back. Now I'm going back to my script, by the way. So good afternoon, all of you. My speeches are quite funny as well, by the way, I'm going to tell you. Because the subject is so difficult to digest, and you need to make it a bit lighthearted as well. I'm not undermining the subject and the problem, but that. Good afternoon, all. I would like to thank Shakti for inviting me to speak at their 30th anniversary celebrations. Congratulations to Shakti founders, Farida, Hira, Fariba, and Nahid, and I think there are 1 or 2 other people whose names I don't know, apologies, but this is for everybody. And also all staff who contributed to the success of Shakti in these 30 years. Without the staff, like Farida was saying, the service users, but also staff are so important. Staff are very important. It's not just saying committed, I'm passionate. You see many people saying, I'm committed, I'm passionate, until a barrier comes, and I don't know where the passion and the commitment just goes, So staff are very important. About me, already Malaysia talked about. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about what we do in Edinburgh. And I have several challenges to cover, but I'm not going to cover the 2 main challenges you have mentioned. I'm going to cover only those 2. And I'm going to talk a little bit, very brief, about forced marriage protection orders. And for short, I'll be saying FMPO. So Shakti, when somebody was talking about Shakti, every time people say Shakti, I'm thinking it's me, it's us. It's us. And the story, everything, Shanti, what you covered, I thought, you already covered what I want to say, that's Shakti, half of it. So Shakti was established in 1986. Shakti meaning strength in various South Asian languages. And we currently have 25 staff with 3 vacancies. And amongst all our staff, we speak 23 languages. And we always advertise for a language need, bilingual. Because if you don't have that language need, we still don't cover all the languages. We had last year, I think, about 42 languages that we need to cover. So we have a small amount, I don't know whether you all have, but we have a small amount funding for interpreting services. So we make sure we spend that money very carefully. So we have languages like Arabic, Urdu, Polish, Spanish, Turkish, Telugu, Igbo, Tamil, because we are an organization who support all Black minority ethnic women. We don't believe in single community. We believe Black is Black, we are all need. our main office is based in Edinburgh, and we have outreach services in other local authorities. We are the only women's aid who have services in other local authorities other than the main office. We have 4 main services: housing and advocacy service, which does visiting and follow-up support. We have refuge accommodation, which supports women in the refuge and other temporary accommodation. And also sometimes the woman might stay in her own home, so we support her in her own home. And outreach service, this service particularly was introduced because we have several women who seek help, but they're not yet ready to leave the abusive situations for several reasons. They have their own reasons. So we provide with emotional support, advocacy, and all support, give the women information, and we wait for the women to make informed choice. When she's ready to leave, we help her to leave and we refer her to housing and advocacy support, and from there on, she's good to go if she wants to. Then we have children's services. Our children's services is divided into 2 bits. There's one children's service which supports the children and young people who come with the mother. So the mother is our service user. And the other one is outreach children and young people service, which is for the children whose mothers are not our service users, but these children are referred by schools, social work, police, and self-referrals. And some of the cases are to do with forced marriage in schools. So forced marriage, and they're having problem. And one of the things that we identified is when children are facing abuse at home or some kind of difficulty, they present it as bad behavior in schools. The schools then look at it as a bad behavior, not looking in depth into what actually is causing the bad behavior. And that's where when a referral is made with our entry, that is discussed. And it takes a few meetings with the young person to gain their trust and to disclose what is happening at home. And then we have, this is my child, Maitri project. When I joined Shakti, my first case, I wasn't a children's worker. You all know that those days, although we had our own titles, you don't stick to your title. You are the admin, you are the case worker, you are the children worker, you are everything. So my first case was to do with an LGBT client. I'm not ashamed to say this. At that point, my knowledge about the whole subject was not that much. But what I saw, I didn't agree with it. And I felt very passionate that, and also for BME women being LGBT, you can imagine. Being a mainstream, it is difficult. I'm already out of time on that. But being LGBT BME, I'm telling you, it's no. After seeing this particular person struggle and how the abuser was using her vulnerability of her family, no support, was abusing her. So at that point, this was a long time ago, I thought, God, I want for Shakti to have the LGBT project for women from BME community. And that was in 2000, and by the time this is where the difficulty is, by the time I got the funding, convinced people, it was 2018. But at least we were successful and the project is running. And once we ran, in the first year, we had 18 disclosures, which is so good. But anyway, thank you. In addition to supporting the Black minority ethnic women, their children and young people, Shakti plays a significant role in developing policies and legislation that enhance the rights and services available to these groups, particularly in relation to violence against women and girls. Shakti is an active member of several Scottish government working groups. By the way, there are only 2 women's aids in whole of Scotland, whereas there are about 28, 30 in England and Wales and Ireland. And this was 40 years ago they set up. That's another story. I won't go into that, but I can talk forever. And it's very important for the politicians, whoever are here, what the barriers that we have, and maybe that will help Shakti here. But anyway, we sit on the forced marriage network, female genital mutilation, honor-based violence network. We also sit on the network addressing violence against minority ethnic women and girls. Shakti has been very instrumental in developing forced marriage protection orders and also drafting the statutory guidelines related to forced marriage. For the past 20 years, Shakti has also actively participated in the no recourse to public funds. I don't know whether you all have a special fund for women who have no recourse to public funds so that they can then apply for indefinitely, I don't know how it works here, indefinitely to remain, and then for that settlement. But we have that. So we are actively involved in the No Recourse to Public Funds campaign, which is led by South All Black Sisters. Shakti is involved in violence against women partnership. We have violence against women and girls partnerships in every local authority. And that partnership includes all groups which work against violence against women and groups. And we are part of our own in Edinburgh, but because we have outreach services in other areas, we are at the privilege of being part of the whole thing. And that helps us, actually we have a major part to play in policy development and all with the Scottish government, which it's very important for organizations like us to be involved in these kind of consultations. At the same time, we are already overworked, and I'm sure, I don't know about you all, we do this with extra, it's like one of the CEOs of Scottish Women says, she says that if you're not at the table, you're the menu. So you'll be discussed as a menu. So that's what it is. So you're trying to stretch, I want to be there, and everybody keeps inviting us as well. They will invite us, but I'm not sure how much they're listening to us. Like I say, now 27 years ago, when I was new to this kind of thing, whenever I go and attend, I'm talking, and when people are smiling, and I'm thinking, oh God, the change will happen. I was so naive, I thought change will happen. After 27 years, I'm still talking about that thing. Now I understand what they mean by, oh, it's interesting. That means you don't understand. I'm sorry. Now I understand that. So now when people say, I'm interested, okay, another 27 years, I'll be talking about this. Anyway. So in doing what we do, we face several challenges. However, as I don't have much time, I will cover only two main challenges. One of the main challenge for now is definition of domestic abuse in Scotland. The definition of abuse that goes with domestic abuse is fine, that subject, physical, emotional, all that. But when it comes to perpetrators, it stops at ex-partners, partners, or husbands. But as you all know who work for minority ethnic groups, there are other forms of abuse. They recognize that. The Scottish government recognizes there are other forms of harmful practices and all. But what they're not doing, the contradicts. In the definition itself, the abuse from other family members is not recognized, which means it actually disadvantages, it's a disadvantage for most BME service users. If they come to us, we support, but not all mainstream. Like I said, there are only 2 BME women said in Scotland. So they will, and in other areas where there is no such organization, they're very reluctant to approach mainstream, but sometimes when they approach, and if it is, you all know forced marriage and honor-based abuse, it's not all, you don't have a partner in forced marriage. Even before the partner, the abuse is happening. In that case, it's a family members or, other somebody. But because it's not in the definition, they're not supported by any other women's aid. There are a few who give exception. They're not given refuge space. So if they're living somewhere like up north, if it's a forced marriage case, they have to come to Edinburgh, leaving all other friendships and connections. So that's our main challenges now. We are working with Scottish government, but hopefully it'll happen soon. And in Scotland, it is challenging to manage organizations that run by, am I out of time? Okay, I'll work towards the end. The challenge is recruitment. So since COVID especially, you're finding it extremely difficult to recruit skilled persons. And because we are so desperate, you then recruit somebody after the third advertisement. And then you think, oh my God, what have I done now? That's the situation. I don't know how it is here, and we're still continuing. That's why we have 3 vacancies for the 6 months, last 6 months. We are not, because now we decided if we are not getting the right person, we are not going to recruit. That means we are not going to recruit for the next year. That's how it's looking like. And the funders will take the money back. That's the catch-22, and that's one of the reasons why you desperately recruit somebody so that the funder don't take the money back. And I don't know why this hurry to, spend the money before March. Somebody has to change this. When you have an idea, when you have a better idea, please put a housewife in charge of these things. I'm telling you, she will do such good job. She will do such a good job. So my last one, I want to cover about there's a lot more. I want to cover about the commissioning and the disadvantages. We are mainly funded by the council and Scottish government. Our main funding comes from there. And our funding, I think just now, is just over £1 million. But now, since 2017, the council, our council, City of Edinburgh, they're the first starters, but everybody else are now slowly following. With the commissioning, what happens? It's an open competition. And when it's an open competition, it's very difficult. And those organizations who never did domestic abuse, who don't have any experience, and the national bodies who have much resources, everything, human everything, it's for them literally a business. So when they put in an application, they put it at lower cost than what we are asking, because they actually don't know the depth of supporting. Who cares? They don't care, and nobody's going and checking them. We gave you the funding, we want to see quality of your work. Who is going to check? Yeah. So anyway, the thing is, especially for BMA organization, and there's a risk of losing the services that we built, like you built for 30 years, we built for 40 years, the risk of losing that bid. And if you lose, you close. And you all know once an organization closes, especially BMA organization, and in these financial circumstances, I don't know when it's going to happen again. And also when an organization closes, people will have doubts as well, and you're not there everywhere to declare, justify their doubts. I wanted to do so many other things, but no, unless they give me time. So anyway, for the past 2 rounds, we have been lucky to win the bids, and now we have until last one was for 10 years, which is really good. This is another thing, I think with the short-term funding, we can't plan, and we lose very experienced staff because they have their families to look after. And until the last minute, you're saying, we're not sure, and you lose them. And then you get new ones. By the time you train them, that funding finishes, and then so that's the difficulty. And there's an evidence. So we won, but there are other women's aid who lost their services, and the women's aid has to close. And the national body who got the contract couldn't deliver. They couldn't deliver. So everything closed. This women's aid closed, now you closed. So this is where there are no questions asked, there's no accountability, there's nothing, that's it. But still the tendering, the commissioning is happening, and other councils are also catching up with that. If you speak to them, they say legislation. 2 minutes? Yeah, 2 minutes, okay. About the, see, you said she is good negotiator. I'll talk about the forced marriage one. So like I said, we have forced marriage protection orders, and the first forced marriage protection orders were initially introduced in 2011. Later on, there were gaps in that. The 2011 one is literally protection orders. So it's a protection order. It's not criminal, nothing. If you breach that order, whoever the perpetrator breaches the order, then you're 2 years punishment, and it can extend up to 5 years. To fill the gap later on in 2014, it was criminalized. So you have the protection order still, but in forced marriage is considered as a criminal act. We along with many other BME domestic abuse services were against that criminalization because we knew that once you do criminal, no child want to punish their parents and they don't want to send the parent to the prison. Our experience is most of the young people or women who are fleeing, they want your support to escape that situation and be in a safe place. That is all they want. They're not asking, okay, now go and put my mom and dad in the prison. And we were right. Anyway, there were other organizations, we were for it. We were right. So with the forced marriage protection order, before that, the statistics of forced marriage was lower. Once the protection order came, it really shooted up. It more than doubled because there were more disclosures and people were seeking help. When the criminal thing came, they dropped off. Literally dropped off. And that's why I'm saying we were right. You know, nobody wants to criminalize their family. Maybe there are some, but there is. And if they do criminalize, most of you know, where are they going to go? The whole society will blacklist them. And they can't survive. And they're like 16, 18-year-olds who are not even streetwise. They're always protected in the house. And then they're out. And I know if New Zealand is thinking about bringing such legislation, the first thing you have to think about is funding. Before you bring the legislation, please think about how are you going to fund the support agencies. That is important. Having legislation is secondary, according to me. You have the legislation, you're asking young people to leave, there is support, but when they actually come to you, after 6 months, you're saying, that's it, we are finished. You're putting that young person more at risk. If you want to do the job, do it properly. First, start from the bottom and go to the legislation. I might be wrong, but that's my opinion, by the way. I'm going to finish. Thank you all. Sudden finish. So yeah, I don't stick to my script because there are so many other things. You know, I know people say you talk this, but you think actually there are other important things. So that's what I do. And
thank you so much, Girajamba, and it's actually very hard to stop you because there are a lot of, not just because it's hard to stop you, but because there are so many lessons there actually that New Zealand could really learn from, and so I hope that you're able to talk to people here and we will hopefully all have a chance to be able to talk more with Girajamba. Thank you very much. Now, there is some kai that has been delivered to your table, so if I to ask Amakura to do a karakia kai for us before you can get into that.
Ngā mahi atu ki a koe whaia mō tō manake I te kaupapa. It's very obvious, they're very passionate about your mahi. And thank you for your kind words. Tīmata mai te karakia, whakapai nei kai he oranga mō mātou tinana, whangaia ki te taro ki te ora, ko i u karaite amene. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Amakura, thank you. Now, Shakti would like to acknowledge a few people for their extraordinary input over the many years with the special presentation of some medals. We will have one group through now and also acknowledge some further supporters a little later on. Can I ask please Farida, Hida and Fariba to come to the stage to assist with passing over our first medal. And actually, I am going to call someone we have already seen on the stage this morning back up, because that is Amakura Panoho. For the past 30 years, Amakura has been a rock for Shakti. She was part of the initial governance group of women who started the organisation, offering mentorship, support and guidance. She shared the vision with the founding trustees and helped shape the growth of Shakti. Shakti would like to thank her from the bottom of their hearts. It's hard to imagine how we would have survived without your unwavering support. Can I please ask you all to give Amakura a round of applause? And we have a medal to present to Amakura. We can do some, we'll do some pictures at the end as well with the group. Amakura, can I please ask you? Oh, Ava's helping with the medal. Would you like to say something?
It's quite an emotional day, to be honest. I think of those early days, and when I acknowledge my husband, who's no longer here.
By the way, who built our first office?
Yeah, because in those early days, for myself, having come from the Māori women's movement and refuge, I thought I understood the kaupapa, and I really got to see another level of harm, I suppose, for want of a better word, that was happening under the radar that many of us in our community had absolutely no inception of. So not only have I obviously contributed as this wonderful acknowledgement here today, but I myself was a recipient of incredible aroha and knowledge and experience working with these women. And of course my husband always loved the food, so kia ora.
Thank you. Amakura, I might actually ask you to remain on stage and to pass the medals to 3 others that I would like to call up. I will call these women and read out some of the background with them in their work with Shakti, and then if we save our applause to the end when they are all on stage. So the first person I would call is Heather Henare. Heather has been a long-standing supporter of Shakti since her time as CEO of Women's Refuge. Her lifelong commitment to supporting women and children affected by violence is deeply inspiring. As CEO, Heather played a pivotal role in bringing ethnic women's issues to the forefront, advocating for legislative change, securing funding and supporting initiatives that aligned with Shakti's mission. Over the past 5 years, come on up, you need to be here while we talk about you. Heather has continued to share her knowledge generously with Shakti's management team, contributing significantly to the organisation's reform efforts, and she deeply valued cultural responsiveness, was instrumental in initiating a memorandum of understanding between Shakti and Women's Refuge, creating pathways for ethnic women to access culturally appropriate support, and her contributions have left a lasting legacy. Please do remain on stage with us, Heather. The next person I can call, please, is Manisha Saini. Manisha's contribution to non-permanent resident women over the past 20 years has been extraordinary. She supported hundreds of women to apply for domestic violence visas at a time when many had no financial means to survive. Manisha also provided legal advice to Shakti without ever sending a bill. Her generosity and commitment have been deeply appreciated. She authored a guidebook on how advocates can better serve clients and build their capacity. On behalf of Shakti's clients and organisation, they extend their sincere thank you to Manisha. She's played a key role in establishing a children's access centre, especially for migrant children. Well done, Manisha. And the final acknowledgement just in this section is to Nima Baniorda. Nima began her journey with Shakti as a volunteer in Wellington. Her dedication, hard work and commitment quickly made her an essential part of Shakti Wellington's survival, especially during the challenging task of setting up a refuge here. For over 8 years, Shakti lobbied the national government for funding, and during most of that time, Nima worked with little to no salary. Even after moving on to explore other opportunities in the sector, she never truly left. As she continued to look out for Shakti, connecting the organisation with people and opportunities and staying in touch. And Shakti would like to thank her deeply for her service to women and children who she has supported over the years. Please can we have a round of applause for all of these wonderful supporters.
Kia ora, I'm Heather Henare. I'm now retired and I do a little bit of clinical supervision and a little bit of advisory work and consultancy. Very little, and I like to keep it that way. But my heart has always been with refuge services, and when I left and retired, I wanted to continue my commitment towards Shakti because from the perspective, I'm going to surprisingly talk about funding, and for all the funders in the room and the politicians and everything, I know it's no surprise to any of you. But I have to say, for ethnic and migrant services, they're right at the bottom of the scale of the funding services. So we have mainstream organisations who get anywhere between 180% funding. You have Māori services who in the last many years they've worked really hard to try and access more funding there. And for Pacifica services, the same issue. And then you have ethnic and migrant services. And if you were to do a scale of funding, ethnic services barely reach the mark on the page. They're right down the bottom of the scale. And yet we have hundreds and thousands of ethnic communities moving into New Zealand every day, and we are not prepared to support them. We're not prepared to provide the services for them. And so we have this great expectation that all these wonderful people in the room who get paid for 15 hours or 25 hours or whatever, but do 45 to 60 hours a week, will continue. The reality being it cannot continue. It cannot continue. We cannot continue to abuse women in this way, expecting them to keep giving their time and giving their services. So my plea to everybody here today is please recognise this. Recognise the successfulness of Shakti, the successfulness and the commitment of the women that have gone before us and the women that are there now who continue to keep the organisation going. And I urge you to give it some priority. Thank you.
Kia ora everyone, I'm Manisha Saini. I started with Shakti when I was not yet a lawyer. Walked into the doors thinking I'm going to be there for 6 months. 19 years on, here I am. It's a huge privilege to be recognized like this, very unexpected, very grateful. But I have to say that it is a huge privilege to be able to serve every woman that I have been able to. So thank you to Shakti for that. To be able to work with these wonderful ladies, each one of you, you know you put in so much. And to Farida and Sheila, it's been life-changing, and I mean it. Thank you.
Kia ora. My name is Nama. I'm a social worker. I'm Palestinian who came to New Zealand around 13 years ago. My first experience in New Zealand was working for Shakti Wellington, where I gained lots of learnings and experiences. Moving country can be very challenging. Different language, different culture. And I do appreciate all the great work that Shakti does for migrant women in New Zealand, for their staff and clients. As a Palestinian, one of Shakti's missions is touching my heart right now. Shakti is calling for commitment towards social justice and human rights advocacy nationally and internationally. It should be all of us call and all of us commitment to stand up for justice. In order to achieve peace, the Palestinian The Palestinian people need justice. They don't deserve it. They don't deserve it any more than any other people, but they don't deserve it either. The scale of death in Gaza is only easy to ignore if we think Palestinians are less deserving of life. So I would like us to take a moment of silence for Gaza, to think of all women and children who has been lost. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much to that group of Wahine Toa for the service you have given Shakti over the years and for your words here today. In the interest of time, we will keep moving through, but I want to remind you, please, if you want to get up and get yourselves a drink at the back of the room, please feel free to do that. We are about to head into a video looking back on the last 30 years of Shakti, so please feel free to do that if you would like. Obviously, if you need to use the bathroom or anything else, please do feel free to do that. Another couple of people who probably wouldn't like me to mention their names here, but Rob and Alison Harley, I know, have been very supportive of Shakti in various ways over the years too. And you are going to see some of their work soon. Rob has also actually written a wonderful book that I'm working my way through at the moment. It's called The Courage of Women. You may have seen it on the table at the back there. Please do go and take a look. There are some details there if you are interested in buying that and taking that away from you, but taking that away with you. But Rob has also been putting together a wonderful film looking back at the development of Shakti and the various times that he has documented Shakti's journey as well. Although you will hear my voice, the credit goes entirely to Rob. So we will take a look at that now. It began as a dream in the heart of a once desperate woman trying to escape domestic violence. In Edinburgh, Scotland, Farida Sultana, trying to escape violence in her home, found a doorway into a refuge, a place of safety.
That was the most important door open in my life. And I would never forget the door. They got my daughter back. Everything they did every day, they actually added on to my strength.
Recovered and safe, Farida, soon headed for New Zealand, made herself a promise. Wherever she ended up, she would work to facilitate the safety of other women caught in abuse and abandonment.
I was ready to build my own life from the scratch again. As far as setting up Shakti, I couldn't think about doing anything else.
It was to be the start of an important revolution. Farida, in the company of other determined women, dedicated to a mission of rescue for migrant women in trouble. Once Farida rallied some women around her in 1995, Shakti started to bloom as a fledgling force for change. Key women came on board as founding members.
Wasn't easy. We're struggling a lot with the build and develop this organization, but the main thing was how we support each other, and as a group as make a good friendship with each other and good networking with other organizations.
We can do the changes. We can make the differences in the community. People can see that, yes, and they feel the strength inside. Yes, we can. You have the power inside of you. I always believed it.
Lucia, too, was there right from near the start.
At that time, the whole family we come to have New Zealand to have the better life. Then when we are settled down and husband gone to work and my daughter is also have her schooling, and then I got the spare time. I involved with Shakti since 1996.
These very determined women had some clear aims in mind, primarily to provide safety and safe havens for abused women from the growing ethnic, migrant and refugee communities in this country, because the need was great.
By the time the crisis occurs, it is beyond, on a number of occasions, beyond anybody's support. And that sadly, through the death of a number of women, highlighted the importance and the significance of having an organisation like Shakti.
This is a time of celebration for the people who are the backbone of Shakti. Its pioneers, the scores of staff, the many hundreds of volunteers, and the vitally important supporters, thousands of them throughout the country. Shakti also greatly values some men who've walked the journey with them, like Mr. Duhami, whose advice in watching and growing the finances has been invaluable.
This charity for bringing peace to the families, is the loveliest value which no money can buy, and so appropriate to be held by ladies, because they are supposed to be the gentle side of the nature. The gentle side of the nature becomes powerful.
Now, all these years later, it is time to celebrate 3 decades of immensely hard work, but a legacy of changed lives.
Every day presents an opportunity to make a meaningful difference in the lives of the people we service, particularly vulnerable women and children.
Shakti would not have managed to achieve everything it has accomplished without the steady hand and guidance of some crucial people who came in the early years. Current chairperson Dr. Shakti Salvakumar has brought expertise Shakti could not do without. She's a Sri Lankan-born GP with vast experience in women's health issues.
I've been looking for a purpose, how, although everything is fine with my medical career and my family and children, but I just wanted to know what else I could do outside my work. And then I have been a chair for Shakti for the past good 10 years now. Coming from a country, migrated from leaving your own home and coming in here, and I can be successful, so you can also do that. That sort of message I think I give.
Shakti's counselling services have become a vital component of their work. It began with a few counsellors and student counsellors over 28 years ago. But from 2010 onwards, it has grown nationally, with Sheila Neer formally establishing Shakti Counselling Safety and Wellbeing Services. Their work includes delivering Ministry of Justice contracted protected persons safety programs, services for women and child survivors. Now Shakti has skilled people in key roles, like Shri, herself a former victim of domestic abuse, now in charge of their Auckland refuge.
So I was an ex-client with Shakti, so Shakti supported me when I have been going through this domestic violence. So you can see where I am now, because I'm really passionate to work for women and children who are the victim of family violence. And that's why I'm here, to work with them, to empower them to live independently and safely.
When I came to New Zealand, everything needed to start again, language barrier, and also I don't know New Zealand's culture, I don't know the law here. So when I got everything going through a very hard time, and then I learned a lot from that. Then I thought I can use that experience, my experience, to support the client when they was in our safe house.
The busier the organisation becomes, the more Shakti's primary leaders rely on people like Hoa.
I have colleagues from Iran, I have colleagues from Nepal, Indonesia, Malaysia, Japan, China, Sri Lanka. It's just like the United Nations office.
Women now, they're coming out, they speak out. That's the best thing we can do. They're just seeking for help. That's why the Shakti's number is increasing. The monthly call, all our after-hours call is increasing. Our refuge is full.
Eliminating violence is nearly impossible. But can we reduce violence? Can we reduce abuse? And we focused on that. Our main focus remained, can we reduce? Eliminating, no. That's the very sad part of this work.
As a nation, we first got to really see the ugly reality of the abuse and mistreatment of migrant women in a 2010 documentary called Broken Promises, Broken Brides, which pulled back the curtain on a mostly hidden reality.
The truth of it is, it's not until the beating nearly kills the battered woman that things start to change. Wendy, who'd been beaten by her husband throughout her pregnancy and then while trying to protect her baby son, Dwayne, knew this time if she didn't get out, she'd die.
I had left side pneumothorax, which means punctured lung, broken ribs, and my neck was fractured.
As part of that documentary, we got to understand the sheer will and determination of Shakti through the eyes of survivors and some very determined women.
The man is the head of the household. It's his prerogative to treat his family the way he wants to, and the fact that his behavior, which may include being abusive to the wife and children, is accepted.
We learned about the sheer scale of the mountain some women have to climb, coping with savage beatings, threats of violence to them and their families, and being forced to flee their homes with their children and a few meagre belongings.
The very first time I left my husband, and then we reconciled, he told me that he had hired a hitman to kill my father. And he goes, you know, I've got contacts, and your dad doesn't even have to leave his home to be murdered.
In reality, what that documentary and other public exposure did was provide a simple snapshot of a massive workload being taken on by a growing network of strong women. Women from a large variety of backgrounds, rescuing those scarred by domestic violence and becoming a force for change. Shakti started a revolution of changed lives and the fight for justice and protection of many thousands of grateful women. And it diversified in meaningful ways, including major inroads in taking better care of young people through a specialised youth unit.
One of the things that Shakti was experiencing in the early 2000s was that there were a lot of young people from 13, 14 who were dealing with forced marriage, and they didn't really have a model for dealing with young people at the time. We decided to set up a youth unit to develop a model that works for youth, by youth. And since then it's grown into both prevention and intervention projects.
Every day, 24 hours a day, hard-working and skilled women are fielding the phone calls. Calls from women who have reached the point of no return.
Oh, okay. So, are you okay now? Are you still in pain? It's okay. Okay. So, did you call the police last night? No. Okay. Yeah. Is there any reason you don't want to call the police last night?
This is work that is growing exponentially as our population diversifies, and politicians and community leaders are seriously taking notice.
Shakti have been leaders in supporting new migrant and refugee women here in New Zealand. They saw a need and they responded, and now we have 30 years of service where they have been heroes really to so many women.
I think they're very effective. So effective that at times it's made them extremely unpopular with some people. And I like that about them too, that they haven't been afraid actually to take a stand on a really, really important issue.
The different languages, the different cultural expectations, the different belief systems, religious beliefs, all of those things add a different layer than what most refugees would be used to working with.
You kind of think that that's back in the country where they came from, and you don't really think about whether some of those things are here because they're not evident. And so, of course, those sorts of practices can continue underground, and I think what Shakti did was to really bring things to the surface.
Shakti has grown a lot in 30 years, from humble beginnings in Auckland to now having a presence in several regions like Hamilton, meeting specific needs as our refugee and migrant community expands. Often there is a lot at stake, including the rape of young women and forcing them into underage marriages. This was highlighted in another TV program. Shakti picked up a young woman who was forced to marry her rapist in Hamilton.
So in New Zealand it's not legal to get married when you're 14?
Yes, but they still did it. They did it in their religion. 14 years old is the normal age. They say in the religion it can be 9.
By 16, she'd had her second child. It's decided that you needed to marry this man.
Because my dad said it would bring shame to the family. I had younger sisters.
And did you marry this man?
Yes, I had to. I had to marry the man. I had to live with him. Yeah.
As you know, Shakti is the only family violence crisis intervention for ethnic migrant communities. So that alone, it means that it's exhausting in some ways because of the nature of work, but also very rewarding, because if Shakti is not around, so many women and children wouldn't be able to get the support that they require.
Hi, Shakti Women's Centre. Good morning.
What's rewarding to know is that women helped by Shakti don't stay stuck. They move on into homes, higher education, and eventually some of those who have been Shakti clients end up giving back in significant ways.
Some of the women, they studied and they are now working in the government organization, and then they help their children for study, and they empower themselves and they move on, and some of them are even working in the Shakti organization itself.
Well, first and foremost, there was that understanding of my plight and my situation as an Asian woman coming into New Zealand. I feel like it's my way of giving back. I truly appreciated the support I got from Shakti, and I don't think I would have survived the situation.
I was a client of Shakti. After that, I would like to help the woman at the same situation as me, so I be a volunteer with Shakti, and after that I be a case worker. And now I study Bachelor of Social Work. I'm year 3 student now.
Some of the stories of success are really delightful. Stories of major progress like Shamli's, now Wellington's regional team leader, a tale of coming from desperation to really giving back.
I have been through domestic violence and I didn't know where to go. I had families and friends, but my families have back hometown, so I had no one in New Zealand. I didn't know anybody in New Zealand, so I got to know about Shakti from the police, and that's where I came to know. And I moved into one of the refuges.
Whether they're involved in casework or social work or youth work or counseling or being at the front line of the National Crisis Line, I think they know that there's something each and every one of us can do to make a difference. And I think that's what draws all these women to connect at Shakti.
Around the country, there are skills being taught designed to teach women rebuilding their lives how to prosper in new jobs and situations.
They are working with the police, with MSD, with other organizations, even Oranga Tamariki, Kayanga Ora, all our clients are working there now.
But before any of that progress can be made, women and children need to feel safe. That's why there's a network of safe houses tucked away in highly secure locations in suburban streets. Places like these are at least a chance to take a breath, for a woman to gather her thoughts, to know that her children are safe. Right throughout the country, there are key people in the police who have a significant appreciation of where Shakti makes a difference.
We're not just talking about normal migrant communities. They are as being experience a very bad experience, physically or psychological abuse. So let alone when they're facing all the barriers, add on those abuses, Shakti has been playing a very vital role.
They're an integral part of our family harm team, as with Women's Refuge and Living Without Violence. The first response when it comes to frontline if needed, if there's an imminent need for them. Otherwise, we support later on with them.
Then there's the legal help Shakti receives from brilliant, experienced lawyers throughout the country. People like Sally in Dunedin and Sasha in Tauranga. They assist with a host of legal matters confronting clients, like getting protection orders. These people know all about Shakti's highly professional approach.
They're able to help their clients to grasp how things go here, and also help us at times with things like assisting to find translation services. They offer a deeper level of understanding in terms of some of the cultural issues that their clients face, and that's not something we are always familiar with from the outset.
One of the big growth areas for Shakti in recent years has been the South Island. The Shakti branches in Christchurch and Dunedin have become very busy places, and steering the ship there is Jitu Phillip and a great team.
We have identified lots of gaps when it comes to culturally appropriate support services in South Island. So my plan would be to extend our support services, and for that definitely we need more collaborations and funding and things like that.
When the mosque shootings took place in Christchurch in 2019, Shakti found itself with a vital role to play in helping migrant women and families so grievously affected by the attacks.
After the shooting, we heard the news. Shakti management and staff, we go and visit the victims, especially the women, to give them moral support. Then we also regularly visit them daily, provide them food, ethnic food, and also clothing to the victims.
What is exciting to discover is that Shakti is determined to keep thinking outside the box on how to help women in need. And there are some key people involved. And while the skills programs are taking off, women like Waiora make sure every opportunity is taken to impart awareness of Te Ao Māori.
I'll be here aiding with conversational English, looking at perhaps some of the words that we use in New Zealand, in Aotearoa New Zealand, some colloquialisms, and also, things Māori, because that's not always clear to other New Zealanders, let alone migrants.
What is so wonderful to observe as Shakti celebrates 30 years of service is the incredible connections the organisation has with people in the wider community who are able to serve them and their clients in practical ways. One of the most delightful groups to deal with is a group of women throughout the country who cheekily called themselves Good Bitches Baking.
Hi, Donna from Good Bitches.
Who turn up regularly with treats to be delivered to women and children in Shakti safe houses.
So inside there is something just made with a little bit of kindness.
And everybody's grateful for the baking they receive. They just so, it's another little thing for them to put out for their, ladies who are in the refuge, and just to help them, break the ice, have a chat.
Support comes from everywhere. In Christchurch, there's a bunch of highly motivated women called the Aunties, who often come to the rescue when a Shakti client finds herself, and sometimes children too, in need of urgent help.
Maybe anything from they need some pots and pans for a kitchen, through to they may need to be set up in an entire house, and we go to our warehouse, pack up the van and go and deliver it to them.
For Shakti, going forward, these relationships are vital. The funding they receive is never quite enough to cover everything needed to keep up with demand. The gaps are often filled by the generosity of services like Kibosh in Wellington, where once a week food aid that's so welcomed by women and families in Shakti's safe houses and other places is collected and distributed. Kiwi Harvest are another vital supply line in Auckland.
Any damages or overruns that have come from our donors, we'll bring it in here and they're going to sort through this, put it into boxes so it can go out to the likes of Shakti tomorrow, the next day.
And in centres like Tauranga, a rapidly growing area in terms of clients and need, it's vital that they're in partnership with mainstream refuge services and people like Hazel Harpak.
And I think that's where it's really important to have advocates, to have women, to have allies, to have champions who have some cultural, social and language context around advocating for women with, the police, oranga tamariki, WINS, with immigration, and just with local community supports.
It's been vitally important that as more migrant women find themselves in strife here, that Shakti has been able to expand in areas outside of main centres to provide rescue and assistance.
Along with Shakti Christchurch's support, we have reached out more into the rural areas that we've never been able to reach out according to the shortage of resources in the past. So we now have extra staff on board to support the increase of the refugee population, migrant population.
All right, Samantha Hayes has this report, and we do warn you.
Mainstream media have been taking an increasing interest in Shakti's impact, especially in really hard cases involving what's known as dowry abuse, a sadly common story where in-laws and husbands demand huge sums of money from particularly Indian women, and things often get violent.
In this story, you won't hear this young woman's voice. She has injuries so severe, she's been unable to talk for almost a year. She fears for her life and is being cared for by a migrant women's support group in a secret refuge, hidden away from the man she says attacked and maimed her. She alleges he forced her to drink a bottle of drain cleaner they'd bought to unblock the kitchen sink.
You kind of think if children grow up here, things will improve. But you don't think you're going to deal with forced underage marriage, you're going to deal with dowry abuse, all that. Absolutely, I thought it will be left behind. Most proud of the social change that we were able to make. Nowadays, women call directly, talk to the crisis line. That's a very big shift. Also, legislation changes that Shakti was able to do, lobbying with the parliament.
Having that support from ethnic women to be delivered to ethnic women, this is the uniqueness of it. So sometimes ethnic women who would be supporting have gone through things themselves, and they can offer that support and that advice in with a personal perspective as well.
There are critical questions to answer for Shakti going forward, many of them to do with maintaining an adequate level of support and funding for the service as demands for its services continue to grow. Lots of organisations like Shakti are on a constant quest to meet budgets. Debbie Hagar has been a long-time supporter going back 28 years. She recently retired as a university lecturer and is very passionate about mental health and disability services.
And so there's still this kind of pyramid of who's considered worthy to respond to and who's not. And I think that a lot of the stress of Shakti has been women who desperately want to do well for each other, but who are struggling in their own right, which is often what we see in women's organisations.
When you look at equity around funding, you look at mainstream organisations, they're up here. You look at Māori, they're here. You look at Pacifica, they're here. Ethnic and migrant don't even feature on the running board.
I don't think we're ever going to run out of the need for Shakti services. It's great that more migrants are coming to New Zealand and more former refugees are coming to New Zealand and being newcomers here, but unfortunately there's still culturally sanctioned violence, there's still violence that happens in our communities, so there's always going to be a need for Shakti to support these women.
So, Shakti has a vision of an Aotearoa in which an equity of access to resources is now highly complex, given the vast patchwork of ethnicities that are now the new landscape that now constitutes a multicultural reality that is rapidly evolving. Looking back over 3 decades, the Shakti leadership recognised that the organisation would not exist were it not for the vast network of people, particularly highly committed women who have patiently and painstakingly walked alongside them. People like lawyer Manisha Saini.
The type of person that Shakti is assisting, the migrant woman, they are changing. So whereas in the past, maybe 30 years ago, it would have been someone who would have no education, perhaps no language capability, that is changing. The kind of people who are coming in now might have the education, might be able to speak in English, but yet there is this vast divide culturally when they come over here, and I think Shakti needs to, and has been, changing the way they assist the people who need them the most.
And along the way, of course, there have been the significant wins, the relentless trips to Parliament by people like Sheila Neer fighting to get more protection. Shakti's leaders have also contributed to international awareness about violence against migrant women, going as far as the United Nations. In Aotearoa, Shakti keeps close to people like former Immigration Minister Leanne Dalziel, who's been of considerable help.
I think the biggest thing was the domestic violence visa, and that was really to enable women to be able to leave without having their visa status affected. And I think that made a big difference. People were able to take that step.
Shakti knows it has come a long way, but the price some women pay for the chance to live a life free of violence, intimidation and deprivation is still high. It has been a while since Farida has stood with flowers by a roadside memorial to one of their sisters who paid the ultimate price for family violence. But the risks are not going away.
My secret dream that we could close Shakti and violence will stop. But I don't think my secret dream ever going to come to a reality. But I think organization need to be absolutely focused on crisis management. Any given week we deal with number of women, such a high risk. We make a step wrong, we put somebody's life is in danger. I just want us to become really good at managing the crisis, because that's the only way we can save life.
I hope you never fear those mountains in the distance, and never settle for the path of least resistance. Living might mean taking chances, but they're worth taking. Loving might be a mistake, but it's worth the making. Don't let some hell-bent heart leave you bitter. When you come close to selling out, reconsider. Give the heavens above more than just a passing glance. And when you get the choice to sit it out or dance.
Apart from Farida, who is currently comforting her grandchild while she sleeps, can I please ask everybody if you're able to stand for a stretch? But also, while we're here and we have just looked back on 30 years of service from Shakti to its communities, acknowledging the communities that have made it happen, acknowledging those who have brought awareness to what is actually going on in communities, and the brave women who are at the heart of this, can we please give a round of applause? thank you. You can be seated again. There is much more to Shakti than that video, many more faces and many more stories. And it has all been captured in a wonderful book that Sheila Neer has written. Her second book, of course. Sheila has also written another around Farida's story earlier. But we have a very special launch of that book now. Can we please welcome Sheila Neer?
Thank you, Melissa. It's lovely to see you here, and thank you for doing this for us. I'd like to acknowledge all the speakers before me, and I would like to thank Phil and Helen for hosting this and giving us an opportunity to be here. All the other speakers and everyone who's present here, thank you. It's very tempting to make this into an advocacy podium, but I think I'll stick to my script, otherwise I'm worried I might just ramble on. It's about a year ago when some of us started brainstorming on how we should commemorate our 30th. There was only one thing that entered my mind: to write a book. To chronicle Shakti's journey over the past 3 decades, what better way than a book to record our history for times to come? Days later, the more I thought about it, the more daunting the very idea felt. Why did I even suggest that? It would be a mammoth task, and I would not have the time and energy, would I? So there was a lot of conflict that was going on inside of my head. But the idea refused to exit, even though I tried every reason in the book, so as to say. Lack of time did become an excuse for a while, and a genuine one at that. But the idea of the book did not let me rest. I decided if I didn't start work in the Christmas holidays, when my other work would become more manageable, hopefully fingers crossed, the book would never happen. Come January, it still hadn't happened. And then the reasons I'd been looking for to exit came up. They literally threw me off balance. A serious fall with fractures and a concussion more or less sealed the fate of the book, I thought, as I lay around in bed much like a zombie, unable to read, unable to bear light, or look at the screen for more than a few minutes at a time, and having to support a near and dear one going through major surgeries was the next thing that followed. But interestingly, I found myself becoming resolute about one thing. I really, really needed to do this book. So every opportunity I got, whether it was in the day or night, I spent time poring over tons of documents and photographs archived over the decades. The book had to have stories of survivors, for they are the ones who grounded us and kept Shakti going. But so gaining their trust, I thought, would be quite a task, and to request them to be featured in our book, I thought that might be the hardest part of the book. But I was pleasantly surprised. Each and every one I had approached to be featured in this book, most of them whom I did not know personally, they were serviced by my colleagues, but they agreed to be featured in the book, and I remain grateful to them for their participation. Some of them are here with us today, and I would like to acknowledge them. I would also like to pay homage to those who are not in the world with us here as we stand here today, whose lives were taken by brutal acts of domestic violence. I suppose having been a journalist in my past life in India helped me in drafting the book, the narratives and the conceptualization, but I had never done such a thing before, never done such a book before. I will not deny that this venture was extremely stressful, even as I took great delight in formulating every page. Capturing the essence of Shakti's long and arduous journey in less than 200 pages without missing any major event was challenging, to say the very least. Worry took over. Would I miss anything that would be deemed unforgivable? As I chronicled, I had to check in with Farida, the best memory stick I could find on Shakti. Not only did she start Shakti 30 years ago, but her elephantine memory served as a checklist when my diminishing gray cells put me in doubt. I would like to thank and acknowledge Farida Sultana for sowing the seeds of Shakti and letting us all have a vehicle to drive the social transformation through our work in addressing violence against women and children. I would also like to acknowledge our other two founding members present here today, Shahinur Hira and Fariba Moradi. Thank you for being with us today. While the Shakti ship set sail, governance members over the years, including Dr. Shanti Selvakumar, steered the ship, giving it the much-needed stability and guidance, navigating Shakti through troubled waters. Thank you, Dr. Shanti. As much as I would like to talk more about our story, what our story contains, I will refrain. But before that, I would also like to acknowledge Giri Jamba, who's come in all the way from the UK to join us today. And Giri, as you were speaking, I was having a sense of deja vu all over again and again, because it resonates so much. It resonates so much. What's going on with Shakti here is almost identical stories that we hear. I'm sure you have a lot more to share with the rest of our team, and we look forward to that. Well, going back to the book cover was to have a gloss finish, but was inadvertently left out by the printing team who were racing to meet the deadline. But I believe the gloss lies inside the pages of the stories, the sacrifices of healed heartbreaks, of what the world sees as success and failures, of women's empowerment, of courage, grit, and survival, of the indomitable resilience that we women have as a tribe. That is our story. Please do buy the book. 100% of the sales proceeds will go towards projects engaged in reducing violence against women and children. Every dollar that goes into buying this book will be precious, for it will contribute to saving lives for this generation and the next. Thank you. Thank you. I would now like to invite Ruth Money, the Chief Victims Advisor, to come up here and release the book. I came to know Ruth in person when we were both part of the Te Uepu Hapai I Te Ora, otherwise known as the Safe and Effective Justice Advisory Group for Criminal Justice Sector Reforms, convened by the then Justice Minister Andrew Little, who is now the newly elected Mayor of Wellington. Yay! I recollect the times we spent as a group, of the discussions we had, some of them robust and not necessarily in congruence with one another, isn't it? Whatever went on, there was one thing Ruth and I focused on at all times: the safety of victims being paramount. Right. So when the book came into fruition, I thought there wouldn't be anyone more appropriate than Ruth, who in Feb this year became New Zealand's Chief Victims Advisor. Thank you for accepting, Ruth. And here's the book.
Wow. Kia ora koutou, namaste, assalam, alaikum, and warm greetings to everyone gathered here today. My name is Ruth Money. As Sheila has already told you, I am the Chief Victims Advisor to the government. It is a total honour to be with you today to celebrate 30 years of Shakti and to release this amazing book. Shakti, a movement, a refuge, a voice for women and families from all walks of life. To the team, volunteers, advocates, and especially the survivors who have led and inspired Shakti's work, congratulations. You've built something extraordinary. You've built not only a service, but a community of strength that reaches across cultures, languages, and generations. The work Shakti does is life-changing, and in many cases, life-saving. For 30 years, you've stood as a lifeline for women, for children and families experiencing violence and abuse. You've offered safety, legal advocacy, counselling and empowerment, but above all, you've offered dignity and hope. What I think, in fact, what I know that makes Shakti truly extraordinary is that it is victim-led and rooted in lived experience. This isn't theory. Many of your advocates and leaders have walked this path themselves. That insight, every decision, every conversation, every outreach, it ensures that survivors aren't spoken for. They are heard, believed, and empowered. And Shakti's reach goes far beyond any one community. You've shown that when we honour our differences, whether they be of culture, faith, or language, we also find our shared humanity. From Auckland to Dunedin, from South Asia to the Middle East to the Pacific, you remind us that safety and equality are universal rights. So today we celebrate your courage, your leadership, your unwavering commitment to justice. Your work has changed lives and what is possible for so many in Aotearoa. So here's to the next 30 years of strength, healing and hope, to our story, which will keep inspiring generations to come. A reminder of the importance of prioritising victims' voices and how powerful, culturally appropriate, victim-centric strategies and practice is. It is my absolute honour to release our story. Ngā mihi nui, Dhanyavad, Shukira, and thank you for everything you do and the difference you make every single day. It's an absolute honour.
Thank you very much. Thank you to Ruth for the work that you do with victims and for your support of Shakti over the years. And a reminder that Our Story by Sheila Nia is going to be on the table just outside the door to the left for when you all want to go out and get it. I'm sure you do. Now, I'm sure you're probably ready for a small break, and so we're just going to take a few minutes. I will have to keep it just to a few minutes, but enough time just for you to have a bit of a stretch, get yourself a drink if you want, and then we will continue with the final session. So we'll see you back here in about 3 minutes. Did that go down every time? Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, can I please ask you just to slowly move back to your seats? Ding dong. Ladies and gentlemen, can I please ask you just to move slowly back to your seats? I hate to be doing this to you. Everyone watching online will be able to hear the buzz in the back of the room, but I am slowly pulling people back to their seats. Thank you. Don't. I will stand and you will be in trouble. I like to work to a deadline. Thank you. I do feel awfully mean doing that, especially because there's always the curse of the ladies' bathroom as well, which is that it's always got a line for some reason. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, if I can please ask you just to make your way to your seats if we can have some quiet now. We will hopefully power through this as well so that we can all have time to catch up at the end. I know that's a really important part of us all being together today. There is also a little juggle with our MPs and it being question time as well at the moment, so I'm just conscious that we have them here and we should quickly bring them up. We have heard already from the Honourable Phil Twyford earlier on and his obviously long links with Shakti. We're going to hear now from some others who are working within Parliament to represent those who need to have a voice at the table. Thank you to the MPs who have been able to make it today and who have been in the room. We've had Phil Twyford, Helen White, Limonga Lydia Solseni, we have Marama Davidson, we have Karen Shaw, apologies if there have been others that I haven't spotted. Celia Wade-Brown as well. Okay, so first we're going to go to the Minister for the Prevention of Family Violence and Sexual Violence. Please welcome the Honourable Karen Shaw.
Thank you, everyone. I'm grateful that you've kind of done the rounds of those who are in the room. I would also just like to give a bit of a shout out to members of Parliament. And it's a real example of how this space, the family harm and sexual violence space, politics gets put aside and we come together for the common good, and it's for our communities and it's for our men and women who are out there looking for help, often seeking help without judgment, and to be able to come together like this and have an invitation from Helen White and Honourable Phil Twyford, I really do appreciate that. And Marama, the work that you began when you were Minister in this portfolio continues to this day. And I think that's an important thing to speak to. We have an action plan. We have the Te Aorere Kura Action Plan, which focuses in this space, and it gives a focus to government to actually not take their eye off the ball, and to make sure that this is a conversation that doesn't just disappear, and that we can all feel that we're comfortable to speak freely about what we know is often our national shame, family violence, and sexual violence. And I thought it was very important that we actually add sexual violence to the Te Aorere Kura Action Plan, because often one comes with the other. And so we need to make sure that we are adding sunlight to this, and empowering victims and survivors to have a voice. And so that's where I would just like to congratulate Shakti. 30 years. I mean, it takes a special kind of person and special kind of people to work in this field. and to spend 30 years in this space just says something in itself. That you truly must have that passion inside of you to make a real difference within your communities, and for that I am truly grateful. I'm truly grateful for the work that you do with the migrant and refugee communities. Some people may know this about me and some people might not, but I'm actually married to a Cambodian refugee, and his family came here in the 80s, escaping some terrible atrocities. And often they found that there were barriers to seeking help. Ethnic communities have different barriers to others, and to have somebody out there that really listens and understands those barriers, that gives me a little bit of hope. So thank you. Cheers to 30 years, but let's hope that you're not needed for another 30. And let's hope we can work together as government and community to tackle this issue and work together for a better, more positive New Zealand. And I'm grateful to see a lot of people in this room today across multiple agencies and organisations, multiple ethnicities, all sitting here, like Ruth Money mentioned, for the common humanity that brings us together for the betterment of our communities. So I'm truly grateful to everyone in this room for the part you play and the role you play in making your communities safer and a better place to live for so many New Zealanders. Have a great night, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the event.
Thank you very much, Minister. And as the Minister alluded to, there have been many MPs over many years who have been working in this space and making progress. But the first ever Minister for the Prevention of Family and Sexual Violence and co-leader of the Green Party, the Honourable Marama Davidson, joins us now. And please make a welcome to the stage.
Tēnā koutou katoa. I brought my phone up here. I'm keeping an eye on the House. It's Parliament video because my member's bill, the right to repair, is about to come up any second. For once, I am grateful for the government MPs filibustering it a little bit, because it means that I get the privilege and the honour of coming to see your faces today and to be in your presence. And I didn't even count on the fact that I was going to see many, many more faces than I even understood. Seeing the faces of you who have been at the forefront of this work, of this advocacy, of this change, of this life-saving and life-giving work of prevention violence, of responding to violence, and standing with the most essential experts, our victim survivors. So I wanted to pop in, really thank Phil and Helen for hosting this event and acknowledge Minister Karen Chua for continuing the work of Te Aorere Kura. Te Aorere Kura, as I always said, was never to be owned by any one minister or any one government or any one political party because it came from you. It came from you, and it is as much about holding our systems of response to account and to safety account, as it is about working in communities and with communities, taking on board the leadership that only communities can provide. So as I have heard around the motu, around the country, from the roots that Te Aorere Kura has managed to embed, only because of you, I am proud of that collective effort. One of the things that was very clear from the very start, before we even got the country's first intergenerational and collective strategy over the line, one of the biggest, clearest messages was the only people, the only way that we can truly have safe responses and truly preventative approaches is that they be led from and by the communities where that violence is impacting. And that's you, Shakti. Happy birthday, happy 30th birthday. That's you, Shakti, and the many organisations and advocacy and hard work that it has taken, because I know, as the First Minister, I am aware of how difficult it is for our community organisations, our victim survivors to be taken seriously, to be supported seriously. For decades, successive governments have found it really hard to give over the power, the trust, the understanding that we can only do this work. We can only do this work with your leadership if we are prioritising your expertise, your skill, and supporting you properly. I know we've got lots more to do. I know we are trying to fix up decades and decades of approaching things in a very paternalistic manner. I know that our systems have actually continued, and again, this is successive governments, successive decades, have sadly continued to perpetrate further harm on top of original violence. I know that. That's exactly what Te Ao Rerekura was supposed to be about. So I simply wanted to be able to call in, to come and see your faces, to come and give as many kisses and hugs that I could squeeze into a short amount of time, to acknowledge you for the blood, sweat and tears that it has taken, for keeping victims and survivors at the centre and at the forefront of your work. That I am here and will always be listening and learning from you all, and I'm so honoured and so proud to have been able to pop in and say hello, say happy birthday, Shakti. Oh, and there's my colleague, former Mayor of Wellington, also Celia Wade-Brown down the back there as well. Stand up, Celia, go on. Kia kaha kia koutou, haere tonu te mahi, mō ngā pokapuna, mō ngā kopuna te take. Kia ora tātou katoa, kia ora.
Tēnā koe, thank you very much. As you heard at the beginning, Helen White has also had a close association with Shakti over the years and is our co-host of this event. Please welcome the Honourable Helen White.
Kia ora koutou katoa. I got this portfolio from Labour about 6 months ago, and I've got to say that my heart sunk because I just knew how serious the issues were in this portfolio, and the delight of it is meeting the amazing people who work in it. I've just had an amazing time. And one of the things that I got to do very recently was I went to the World Congress of Women's Shelters, which was held in Sydney. And there were a whole lot of New Zealand women at it. And some of you will have been there, yeah? We had this little group that met that was just the New Zealanders. And we talked about what we were facing that was different. And we had listened to some pretty harrowing stories, and we'd seen new waves of things like a lot of tracking going on, spying going on, things that hadn't happened before. Somebody told a story of a vacuum cleaner that was actually watching people in the house. So we heard this sort of overwhelming story. And we also heard about the issues around being able to leave because there was no housing to go to. And we heard about the fact that the waiting lists for going to a refuge were very long because there just isn't enough accommodation for people to move on, and that's particularly bad for migrant women in most countries where the house prices are far too high. And one of the most shocking things that I heard was that the turnaround data had been collected. So this is the people who are turned away from refuges. So it had been collected by the Canadians. 85% of the women who asked for a place in a refuge, they were who were declined, never came back, which meant that they went back into violent relationships. And they internalised the fact that they were turned away and said, oh, it's because I'm not sufficiently worthy. I haven't been in a bad enough situation. That is the crisis that we face at the moment. And Shakti has been meeting that need for a very long time, and I'm incredibly grateful that that has happened. But this little group met, having heard all that, and we talked about what we saw was a complete wave of misogyny coming our way in totally new ways and new forms of violence.
And that one of the things that we had that a lot of the other women didn't have around the world, and we were talking to women from Africa and from the Middle East, and some of them had actually not even been able to come because of their visa situations. But one of the things we had was freedom to talk about it, freedom to speak out, freedom to ask our government to do the right thing and to fund these organisations, and also to push back on that misogyny, because it is very real. And so I am bringing that message here today because I think it's an incredibly important one. We need to absolutely ask for what women in this country need and what our children need. Mm-hmm. And we need to push back on what is some vile misogyny out there that is fueling violence. So thank you for coming today. Congratulations for meeting your 30 years.
Thank you again to all of our MP representatives here today. Minister Erica Stanford had also wanted to be here. She had sent her apologies. She was having to deliver a presentation at the same time and wasn't able to make it in the end. Now, can I please welcome our next speaker, someone very important to Shakti, the National Refuge Service Delivery Manager, Hoa. Hoa has been involved in social work, research, practice and teaching internationally and here in New Zealand too, of course, as well as working for several international NGOs. And Shakti are very appreciative of her leadership. Please welcome Hoa Nguyen.
Tēnā koutou katoa. Emi ana ki ngā mana whenua, ko hangwe toko ingoa, no Vietnam aho, no reira, tēnā koutou katoa. Thank you all for gathering here today to celebrate with us this special event, Shakti's 30th anniversary. And expressly, thank you all for making a special effort, because I understand that many of you had to go through a hurdle yesterday to be able to be here today. Yesterday, when we were at the airport in Auckland, trying to get to Wellington, we heard that the gust was about 140 kilometers and no airplane could land. And we were at the airport, and the broadcast said, no flight gonna be able to go to Wellington today, so please go home. But we did not. We stayed at the airport, and we stayed put. And we were to make it. And that's how Shakti is. That is like Shakti's daily life. We met challenges, we met hurdles, we deal with crisis, we're determined, and we want to make it. And that's where we are today. In Vietnamese, we have a saying, uống nước nhớ nguồn. When drinking water, remember its source. Ăn quả nhớ kẻ trồng cây. When eating fruit, remember the one who planted the tree. So I want to take this moment to acknowledge all the women who planted the seed of Shakti globally, and the women who planted the seed of Shakti here in Aotearoa. We would not be here today without you. Thanks to you all, thousands of women have found their Shakti, their strengths to build a better life for themselves and for their children. So it is my immense privilege to be entrusted with Shakti, this enormous strength to be passed on to other women. Of course, this privilege comes with great responsibility. The responsibility of keeping it burning, the responsibility of keeping it filled for generations to come. And it is my responsibility to maintain Shakti as a leading agency providing culturally appropriate service for ethnic migrant women, to advocate for their right to challenge the oppressive cultural norms that make women suffer. My vision is clear. I want ethnic migrant women in Aotearoa, no matter where they live, rural or urban, no matter what's their immigration status, resident or non-resident, will be able to access the support that they need when they need it. I want to see Shakti, as Frida said, continue to get better at crisis management so that more lives can be saved and no women or children will be lost because of domestic violence. I want to see Shakti to continue to expand internationally so that women globally can live lives free from violence. I want to not only see Shakti UK, Shakti New Zealand, but also want to see Shakti China, Shakti Indonesia, Shakti Japan, Shakti Vietnam. And I know that there's many ambassadors or embassy representatives here today. So please support us to make this vision become true. Of course, I cannot do this alone. My sister saying, một cây làm chẳng lên non, ba cây chụm lại lên hòn núi cao. One tree cannot make a hill, but 3 trees together can make a high mountain. With the collective strength of Shakti staff, clients, volunteers, supporters, donors, partner organizations, we will achieve these visions and goals. Shakti is you, and you are Shakti. I want to take this opportunity to acknowledge our Shakti Funnel, the head office staff for their tremendous work organizing this event, our clients for their strengths and giving us strength to continue this work, our regional staff, regional managers, crisis line managers, social workers, case workers, refuge coordinators, and safe house staff for their daily hard work on the front line responding to crises. Our professional partners, our lawyers who work pro bono to help our clients secure legal orders and visas to live safely and independently in New Zealand. I want to thank our counselors and life skill program coordinators who keep our clients healthy and job ready. Our community of practitioners, the police and family harm teams across the motu, for working alongside Shakti to keep our staff and clients safe. Women refugee staff, Blanket, Te Whatu Ora, Oranga Tamariki, Kainga Ora, for collaborating with us to provide wraparound support for our women. I want to thank our government partners, the Ministry of Social Development, the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment, Ministry of Justice, Ministry of Youth Development, Ministry of Education, for your support to enable us to deliver these essential services to women and children in need. I also want to thank our philanthropic funders, Lottery Grants Board, Todd Foundation, Zara Mackenzie Trust, Rotary Club, and city councils across the motu for your funding to keep our lights on. And I also thank you, our practical supporters, Kai Bosch, Kiwi Harvest, Side Group, Zonta Club, and Good Beaches Baking for providing food and basic necessity for our women. And finally, I want to thank our MPs, the Honorable Phil Twyford and Honorable Helen White, for hosting us in this special Parliament room today. Today, we celebrate 30 years of Shakti, 30 years of strength, courage, and transformation. As we look to the future, we carry forward the legacies of those who came before us, and we commit ourselves to ensuring that every woman who needs us will find us. Kia kaha, kia maya, kia mana wanui. Thank you all.
Couldn't think of some more perfect words to finish our speakers for today. Now, can I please ask Dr. Shanti to come and help me with some final acknowledgements for this afternoon. So these are 4 more people that Shakti would like to acknowledge for their extraordinary support and work over the many years. First, I will ask all of these awardees to come up on stage at once. First, Debbie Hager. It's hard to put into words what Debbie has meant to Shakti. She's always stood up for us, offering much needed training and supporting Farida during critical times. Debbie contributed to the development of best practice guidelines and has played many roles over the years, and her support has been invaluable. Can I please ask Mr. Tagi Dahami to come up? For nearly 30 years, Mr. Dahami has unconditionally supported Shakti, not just as an accountant, but as a mentor to many Shakti finance staff. He's helped build Were you not? Oh, well, you should expect to be called. Please come. He has helped build internal capacity advised on financial systems, ensured finances remain in safe hands, and his guidance has given trustees one less thing to worry about. Beyond the numbers, he also shared Shakti's work with the wider community, especially with those who came to see him, and clearly very humble. Please stay. Susan Tarrant. Susan has been a dedicated advocate for Shakti and clients. She's not only provided legal advice, but fought tirelessly for the rights of clients in a legal system where discrimination is often embedded in the process. Susan has stood up not just as a lawyer, but someone who truly believes in human rights and the rights of minority and vulnerable women. Thank you very much to Susan on behalf of Shakti's clients. Shakti says, without you, many lives may have been lost. Your work has made a real difference. Masako Ritchie. Masako originally joined Shakti as a volunteer, coming from Japan with a background in counselling. Over the years, she has served in various roles, including as staff member and coordinator. Although she stepped away for a few years, Masako never truly left Shakti. There's a theme there. Sounds like you never can leave. Whenever the organisation needed her, she put her personal commitments aside and gave her time generously. Her work was especially vital during the earthquake response, where she helped hold the organisation together. She currently works as a children's program facilitator, supporting children who have witnessed violence and abuse, and remains a valued member of the Christchurch team, continuing to provide guidance and support to new management. She's a passionate advocate for women's rights and consistently stands up for justice and equity. And finally, Gorjan Pan, also known as Penny to many of you. Penny came to New Zealand from mainland China and settled in Christchurch as a new migrant. Despite facing challenges with language and adapting to new culture, she showed a remarkable commitment to supporting other women. Starting as a volunteer with Shakti Christchurch, Penny has taken on many roles: caseworker, refuge coordinator, administrator, and advocate. Her dedication has built strong relationships across government agencies and left a lasting impact on the community. She also played a key role during the Christchurch earthquakes and mosque attacks, working tirelessly to support affected families. Penny's legacy lives on through the many women she's empowered, some now working at Shakti or in government roles, and Shakti honours Penny for her resilience, leadership, and unwavering dedication to migrant and refugee women. Can we please give them all a round of applause? Some of you may like to say a few words, and you're more than welcome if you'd like.
Just I think I'm the eldest person in the room, right? Tell you, quality of life is a mark each person gives themselves. Nobody else can give anybody else the mark quality of life. It's a matter of perception, not matter of measurement by others. Anybody measure themselves. Stand on the right side of the justice, fairness, and you will be all right when you get my age.
I'm just going to cry, actually, probably. But Farida, I just want to talk about Farida as an example of extraordinary vision and tenacity. And I'm very pleased that I've been able to support that. But I think we've talked a lot about the people who have started Shakti. Without you, Farida, nothing would have happened. And you're still here, you're still doing it, you're still passionate, you still have ideas, and I salute you for being astonishing.
I just second that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, you can now take your seats. Thank you. Dr. Shanti.
I just want to make a special announcement and acknowledgement for the great hard work over the years, Sheila and I. She has negotiated, as Farida said, advocacy is her strength, and compassion with dedication. So I know we shouldn't be speaking of our own strengths, but I think her story stands out for the guts. She has put her own story in the book. So please contribute, buy the book, and read and support us. And thank you, Sheila, for all your help all these years.
Okay, we can't have a celebration of the years of service. Oh. I'm not sure that Sheila knew that that was happening. That must have been very sneakily organised. Okay, well, we can't have a celebration of the service of Shakti over the last 30 years without a cake. So can I ask representatives, whoever would like to be in charge of the very important job of cutting this cake, to please come forward. We have the cake just over here. Is anyone going to volunteer from Shakti for that? Farida? Ava will surely be into the cake. Yeah. Or maybe it's more the eating than the cutting. Go on, Farida. Thank you. Well, come and stand by the cake, and then we can have a photo with the cake as well. Can I ask you all just? We don't need to fully cut it up. Just a little cut for now.
Also very hard 10 years of service given to Shakti Marji.
It's a very important job. The pressure of how to cut it as well.
Also, can we ask Giridamba to come forward, please? Yes, please. Please, Sheila. Sheila, please. And where is my brand new national manager? Keeping everybody together, 10 years old one, new one. Sasha?
Some of you might be shy now, but I think you will be forced into photos as well, group photos, once this part of the formalities are finished. Yeah. Oh, yeah, there's the cutting bit. Nice work, Ava. Thank you so much. We will just close shortly with a karakia, and then I would ask members of Shakti who would like to come up and be part of the closing waiata to please start making your way up towards the stage. While we were getting ourselves ready for that, I would just like to say thank you very much for having me. It has been a privilege to be part of this. Don't know if I deserve that. But we all know the importance of community, and the community that wraps around Shakti isn't always actually in the same room. They actually aren't even always visible to each other. So it's lovely to have so many people who are part of that community in the room today, celebrating together, and that we can share this connection with Shakti all together. So thank you very much for being here, and can I please welcome Amakura back for a closing karakia and some closing thoughts.
Kia ora. So you might have noticed when I came up on the stage, I was wearing this blanket. It's part of a limited edition of the No Blanket collection, Te Whare o Rongo. Its meaning is, it's called He Kōkana Nākau. He Kōkana Nākau is an encouragement to carefully tend to the corners of the heart, the unseen pillars of our well-being, our inner being, our emotions, thoughts and spirit, and is woven with the understanding that to take care of ourselves is to take care of those we love. I would like to ask Frida, who's been doing a lot of acknowledgements today, I would like to ask Frida, could you please come up here, please, Frida? Come here, yeah. And I'd like to present this to you, Frida.
Thank you, it's such an honor. Oh my God, Amakura, it's such an honor.
I will share with her and the woman of Shakti a story later. But this is a gift from me and my whānau. My children have been on this journey too. Most of them sadly work in Australia. They have known this woman long before, when Farida's daughter was this age. And so they suggested it to me when I told them I was coming down for this kaupapa. So thank you all for your attention, and again I would like to thank and acknowledge our wonderful MC. It's an incredible job that you did today, rallying everybody together, and I'll be watching your programs with interest in the future. So we'll close off our karakia today. Kia tau ngā manaakitanga, atamia ngaro ki runga i a tātou katoa. Kia kaha ai tātou ki te mahi tika, kia u ki te arapautama, kia mau ki te rangimarie. Haumi e hui e taiki. May the blessings of the sacred be upon us all. May we have the strength to do what is right, to remain steadfast on the path of progress, and to hold fast to peace, united and bound together as one. Āmene.
I'm just speechless. Thank you so much, Amakura. Just meeting with Amakura was one of the best blessings in entire journey. As Sheila described, she's a guardian angel, always been there. Also, many other Maori women who over the years became a sister. I want to acknowledge Sister Waiora. She's sitting in the behind. Waiora and our clients together made a every single thing you will see when you go out, you buying book, or if you are in the lobby, you will see a international symbol of flags. These are all these countries our client come from. Wayura worked last 3-4 months to design that. Please admire that. We thought of auctioning it, then we decided not to, because this is too precious to give away, sorry. But you all welcome to have a look. Thank you so much.
Okay, we're going to finish with a waiata, and Purabi actually has been dropped in this, I think. It is one of the hallmarks, I guess, of Shakti, that your resilience and flexibility. Thank you very much. Can we all be upstanding as well to join? Thank you.
I'm really nervous because I wasn't told like I have to sing a song, and it's I actually don't practice anything, but I just suddenly like thinking something relevant. Shakti's like, even today's celebration is happiness. So I will present a Tagore songs. You may heard about Rabindranath Tagore from India, and I'll try. This is kind of like a prayer song, and it basically talks about in this happiness moment, what I should sing, what I should say. I can't translate whole things. Basically, the meaning of like this, it's like a prayer song. Ki gabo ami ki shonabo aji anundo dhame purobasi jane এনেছি দেখে তোমার অমৃত নামে কি গাবো আমি কি শোনাবো আজি আনন্দ ধামে কামনে বর্ণিব তোমার রচনা কামনে রটিব তোমার করুণা কামনে গলাব হৃদয় প্রাণ তোমার মধুর প্রেমে কি গাব আমি কি শোনাব আজি আনন্দ Thank you. Thank you.
Please help yourself to cake and enjoy each other's company, and thank you all for coming again today.